Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we crack open dense research to find the golden nuggets you need to be better informed.
Hey there.
Today, we are on the basketball court, looking at one of those fundamental tools in modern training, small-sided games, or SSGs.
Oh, yeah.
Coaches use them religiously because they mimic the chaos and, the decision-making of a real game.
They do, but there's a colossal blind spot in how most coaches treat them. The assumption is if the players feel like they worked hard, the training load was, appropriate.
Right.
This deep dive is going to fundamentally shatter that assumption. We're looking at research that proves the specific rules you use, scoring versus just possessing the ball create recovery demands that are worlds apart.
Even if the perceived effort is identical.
Exactly, even when the players think it was the same workout.
That RPE disconnect is the core insight here. So our mission is to give you, the learner, an evidence-based roadmap for scheduling these games into your weekly training plan, your microcycle, without crippling recovery or risking injury.
We need to know which SSG format is the heavy lift and which one is the quick recovery session.
So where are we getting this information from?
To do that, we're analyzing a highly focused piece of work. It's titled Scoring and Possession Small-Sided Games Elicit Distinct 48-Hour Muscle Damage and Neuromuscular Responses in Basketball Athletes.
Okay.
This was conducted by DongMing ZhuD and published in the Journal of Sports Science and Medicine back in 2026.
And what makes this particular study so powerful?
It's the design. A randomized crossover design using trained regional-level athletes, which gives us extremely reliable, within-player data.
So we're dealing with the science of freshness. How do we ensure that when Tuesday's practice finishes, the athlete is ready to perform again at a high level on Thursday? Let's unpack the mechanics of the study itself.
Let's do it.
SSGs have been embraced in basketball because you can, fine-tune the difficulty by changing player numbers or court size. But this study took the physical dose out of the equation and isolated the psychological and mechanical load. What did the setup look like?
Okay, so ZhuD worked with 36 trained male under-21 basketball players. The key here is the randomized crossover design.
Meaning?
It means that over 3 separate weeks, every single athlete participated in all 3 experimental conditions.
Okay, so what were the conditions?
First, you had SSG basket, which was a scoring-oriented game using regulation basket.
A classic game.
A classic game. Second was SSG possession. This was a possession-oriented game where the goal was just ball control and maximizing passes. Same court, just no basket.
Right. And the third?
The third was CON, the control condition. That was just their standard regular training with no SSGs added at all.
And an actual SSG structure was identical for the 2 game types. Same duration, same court size.
Yes, and that identical structure is absolutely key to isolating the variable. It was 2 versus 2, played on a constrained area, roughly 1/3 of the court, about 9.3 by 15 meters.
And the work-to-rest ratio?
The load was 6 intense sets of 2 minutes of play, followed by 2 minutes of passive recovery. So physically, they experienced the same amount of time under tension and the same space restrictions.
That's intense work. And they track the fallout over 48 hours, which is a crucial window for recovery in a tight weekly schedule.
Exactly. Measurements were taken at baseline, immediately post-session, 24 hours later, and then again 48 hours later.
And what were they tracking?
They were tracking 4 different indicators that, together they tell a really comprehensive story of muscle damage and performance loss.
Okay, let's define those markers for our listener, starting with maybe the most visceral sign of physical stress.
Let's start with salivary creatine kinase, or CK. This is a biochemical index of muscle membrane stress.
So when muscle fibers suffer mechanical trauma, they get torn slightly. This protein, CK, leaks out.
That's it. It leaks into the bloodstream. Think of it as the muscle fiber waving a white flag saying, we've been structurally damaged. Higher CK means higher damage.
Then we have the subjective and objective pain markers.
Right. We have the visual analog scale, or VAS soreness. That's the subjective measure, how sore the athlete reports feeling.
And you pair that with an objective one.
Yep. We pair that with the pressure pain threshold, or PPT, which was assessed on the hamstring. This is objective. How much mechanical force can we apply before they feel pain?
So a drop in that PPT number means the muscle is more tender.
Highly sensitized or tender, exactly.
And finally, the marker that actually tells the coach if the sessions succeeded or failed? Functional performance.
That is the reactive strength index, or RSI. It's a key neuromuscular indicator derived from a drop jump test.
What does it measure specifically?
RSI is the ratio of jump height to ground contact time. It tells us how quickly and explosively you can absorb force and then redirect it. RSI isn't just a number, it's the engine of basketball explosiveness.
So it tells you how fast you can jump for a rebound or accelerate for a fast break.
Precisely.
Okay, now let's get to the shocker, the finding that should make every coach, really question their assumptions.
This is the big one.
You're talking about the RPE betrayal.
Precisely. We ask athletes to rate their perceived exertion, RPE, on a scale of 1 to 10. The RPE reported for SSG basket and SSG possession was virtually identical.
No way.
The difference was negligible, not statistically significant at all. Players felt the same level of intensity in both training formats.
That is wild.
Yeah.
So their subjective feeling, which we rely on constantly in the weight room and during practice, is essentially misleading them when it comes to mechanical stress.
Yes.
They walk off the court after the scoring game feeling just as tired as they did after the possession game, even though something physiologically, catastrophic might have happened in the background.
That's the danger. A coach might assume same RPE, same load, same recovery, but the data said absolutely not.
So what did the data show?
Despite the similar perceived effort, the physiological and neuromuscular damage profiles were dramatically different. The research showed large and significant differences in how recovery unfolded over those 2 days for all 4 outcomes: CK, PPT, VAS, and RSI. The simple change in the rules dictated the recovery debt.
Okay, let's prove that RPE was a liar by looking at the actual damage. Talk to me about the CK data, the muscle fiber breakdown.
Okay, so SSG basket induced the largest and critically the most prolonged rise in creatine kinase.
Prolonged, okay.
Yeah. While both SSG formats showed elevation compared to the control, SSG basket peaked dramatically at the 48-hour mark. It remains significantly higher than the other 2 conditions.
So this isn't just a rapid spike and then it comes back down.
No, not at all. It suggests a continuously accumulating mechanical stress response that lasted well into the 2nd day of recovery.
So the damage didn't resolve quickly. It just lingered, and it actually reached its worst point 2 days later. The athletes were walking around on Wednesday and Thursday with muscle fibers still struggling to cope with Monday's session.
Exactly. Now, SSG possession also peaked at 48 hours, which is consistent with typical delayed onset muscle soreness, but the overall magnitude of the CK response was noticeably smaller.
And that connects directly to the subjective feeling of pain, I imagine.
It does.
So let's translate that CK trauma into real-world pain using the VAS and PPT.
Okay, SSG basket led to the most severe subjective soreness, peaking at 24 hours. Players felt the worst pain the day after that scoring SSG.
And it stayed high?
It did. They were still substantially sore than the possession group even at 48 hours. And objectively, the hamstrings were most mechanically sensitive. They had the lowest PPT at 24 hours following SSG basket.
That's the classic undeniable sign of significant muscle trauma and severe DOMS.
It is. SSG possession was much milder and recovered faster.
Why? Why does the simple act of trying to score the ball change the physiological cost so much?
It really comes down to eccentric loading.
The breaking.
The breaking, yes. Possession games are dominated by sustained effort and smaller movement patterns, continuous shuffling, passing, tracking.
Right.
Scoring games, however, they require high-frequency, maximal intensity, eccentric actions. Think about what a player does when driving to the basket.
Explosive acceleration.
Followed by rapid, powerful deceleration to stop on a dime before jumping, or executing a fast change of direction to create space.
So those braking and stopping movements amplify the eccentric load.
Far more. They cause far more mechanical stress and damage to the muscle membrane than continuous possession play. That's the difference between endurance and explosion.
That distinction, endurance versus explosion, is perfectly quantified in the functional data, the reactive strength index.
Exactly.
We've confirmed the damage is worse, but how did that internal trauma translate into a loss of actual basketball capability?
The RSI data is the ultimate truth teller for performance. Immediately post-session, all 3 conditions caused a large acute drop in RSI. You're always tired right after practice.
Sure, but the difference is the recovery trajectory.
And SSG basket recovery was terrible. It was the worst. SSG basket produced the largest and most persistent functional impairment. This is the critical finding. RSI was still significantly depressed at 48 hours.
So they hadn't recovered their explosive capabilities 2 full days later.
Not even close. And the magnitude of this deficit is comparable to what previous literature reports following a full official game.
Wait, let's make sure that sinks in. Playing a scoring SSG is functionally the equivalent of playing an official game in terms of robbing your athletes of explosiveness for the next 2 days.
That's a takeaway.
So if you run SSG basket on a Monday, They are walking into Wednesday practice measurably slower and less bouncy.
That's absolutely the implication. Their ability to rapidly generate force, to jump quickly off the floor, to make that second effort in defense, it's compromised.
And the possession game.
SSG possession also induced a measurable acute deficit, but the recovery was progressive and notably faster than SSG basket. Though I should add, they still weren't fully back to baseline by that 48-hour mark either.
And the control group.
As you'd expect, it showed the smallest residual deficit.
Okay, let's put this all together and give the coaches the bottom line guidance they need. The rule manipulation is the lever that determines your athlete's recovery trajectory.
That's it.
SSG basket is the heavy, eccentric load. SSG possession is the moderate, more rapidly resolving load.
Right. So the practical application here is simple. Schedule heavy based on recovery requirements, not on RPE.
So SSG basket.
SSG basket must be viewed as a heavy neuromuscular stimulus. If you want to use it, which you should because scoring matters, you have to schedule it when a significant recovery window is available.
How long are we talking?
We are talking 72 hours or more of recovery before competition or the next high-intensity session. This is an early microcycle stimulus.
Okay, so a Monday or Tuesday session if your game is Friday or Saturday?
Exactly. It's an investment, but one that comes with a steep price tag and recovery hours.
What about SSG possession?
SSG possession is much more flexible. Because it imposes a moderate, mechanically less damaging load that resolves faster, it's suitable for midweek sessions, maybe 48 to 72 hours before a game.
So you get some benefits without the major cost.
You get to maintain high technical and metabolic intensity without incurring the maximum mechanical damage that the scoring action induces. You get the cognitive demands without the long-term RSI penalty.
This study provides profound clarity, but we should mention the limitation, which actually points to where future research needs to go.
Absolutely. The limitation noted by the researchers was that external load variables, so the actual number of maximal jumps, high-speed decelerations, or changes of direction, they weren't reported.
I see.
So while we strongly suspect that scoring drives those mechanically costly eccentric actions, we don't have the definitive GPS or inertial tracking data to prove the direct causal link.
The link between how many hard stops occurred and the magnitude of the CK leak.
Exactly. Adding that tracking data in the future would make this relationship completely transparent.
But the existing data is compelling enough to change training philosophy immediately.
For sure.
So here's the final thought for you to chew on. We know both scoring and possession formats resulted in significant functional impairment. That reduced RSI. That persisted until 48 hours. So for a player committed to daily recovery, what single metric should you prioritize tracking daily? Is it subjective soreness, or the objective measurement of jump performance, or maybe heart rate variability? What ensures you are truly recovered and ready for the next high-intensity training day?
That's the true challenge of individualized recovery and performance optimization.
A great question to end on.
And if you found this evidence-based deep dive useful, I strongly encourage you to seek out the full article by DongMing ZhuD in the Journal of Sports Science and Medicine. That paper provides the comprehensive statistical analysis and detailed methodological explanations we referenced today.
Go check out the data that supports this critical shift in how we schedule basketball training. And while you're doing that, be sure to follow the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss future deep dives into specialized performance-enhancing research like this. We'll catch you next time.